Hey, what's up, little buddy? Aren't you a little cutie? Oh, he got that crazy stare. You know what? He just like his daddy. I heard you and Chi-Chi were looking for a second house. You know, just a little friendly advice. I'm trying to save you. It's an inflation problem, a debt problem, a financial crisis. All right, go to your yoga. Finish your walk. Don't come crying to me. And don't take anybody's shoes on the walk. I'm watching you. Come on now. Hey guys, welcome back to After Hours. I'm the ATL Beast, and today we're gonna talk about the melt up in the market. Let's break down this melt up. Most of the stories have similar points. Some of this rally involves AI, or mostly the tech sectors and the tech leaders, bringing the overall market up. Now, part of that actually comes from foreign influence, like China. When China reopened and stopped zero COVID, as well as revealed a big part of its real estate problem. When foreign economies go down, that makes the US dollar go up. But with overall universal inflation, the US purchasing power is actually going down. Now, why is the purchasing power of the US dollar going down so much? Well, we have debt, we have inflation, we have a financial crisis. We have so many reasons, but at the moment that doesn't matter because we're a part of a melt up. So everyone can feel the loss of purchasing power when they go to the grocery store or when they go to the gas pump or even when they pay their electric bill. Well, if you look at the overall market, the market is almost back to its all-time highs. What's going on here? Well, at the end of the day, we have so many reasons why the market should be down, and yet we're still going up. There's all kinds of reasons why this could happen. Now, what the headlines are saying is it involves AI, it involves tech, it involves all the tech leaders making promises. Like Apple, they came out with their new augmented virtual reality headset. And part of that technology, you need semiconductors. And then when it comes to the largest manufacturer of semiconductors, you look at NVIDIA and you look at Taiwan, where they are the largest producers and consumers of semiconductors. Now, when it comes to this AI hype, we know the tech leaders have something to do with it. They made a lot of promises, and all-time highs are coming soon. We don't know that if we get to an all-time high, is the bubble gonna pop again? Are we gonna end up back at 3,000? When we reach towards the high of that bubble, how's the real estate market gonna affect? So this AI hype is supposedly the reason that we're going to all-time highs. Now, when we look at those all-time highs, we need to understand that it's just a part of a bubble. And the hype right now is AI, it's technology, it's anything that distracts you from seeing the massive problems underneath. The debt crisis, inflation, banking crisis, financial crisis, money problems. Now, there is a lag effect when it comes to what happens inside of the real estate market. There's also a lag effect of what happens inside of the stock market in relation to the decisions from the Federal Reserve. But what you do need to know is the next decision for the FOMC meeting is July 26th, and they'll tell you what's gonna happen in the future. Are we gonna do another quarter-point hike? How's the market gonna react? Are we gonna continue to go to all-time highs again? Part of me thinks it has something to do with its earnings. Now, these earnings were a mixed bag. When it came to the bank stocks, some of them were up, but most of them were down. When it came to other types of stocks, most of them were down, but we're still going up. That means this whole rally is being led by the top providers: Tesla, Amazon, Google, the tech companies. Now, this month, we are in earnings season. During this earnings season, we've had a mixed bag. Now, when it comes to the technology sector, overall, we've seen a large profit loss when it comes to the second quarter. But when it comes to the large banks like Goldman Sachs or Bank of America and Wells Fargo, we've seen a mixed bag of results for their earnings. We've seen marginal increases like in Bank of America, but then we've also seen plunges in profit like Goldman Sachs. Now, why is this important? Overall, the banking system is still in a banking crisis. Now it's a little more subtle. People have forgot about it, especially when the market keeps going up every single day. But overall, the banking system is fighting for liquidity. With rising interest rates on the rise, all banks are taking loans from the Federal Home Reserve, and it's necessary for all these banks to have extra cash on hand. They're taking out large loans, up to 30% for federal home loans. What does this mean? All banks have a large unrealized loss. This unrealized loss is getting riskier and riskier as the Federal Reserve keeps raising interest rate hikes. As soon as the stock market comes down or interest rates keep rising, these unrealized losses are going to keep affecting the banks, and they're going to be forced to sell a lot of this real estate, and it's going to become worthless because they don't want to pay the large unrealized losses from rising inflation, as well as the decrease in purchasing power. For example, look at Blackstone. Blackstone is literally the largest asset manager when it comes to real estate. They just reached a record of $1 trillion in assets. But if you look a little closer, from last year, they lost over 92% inside of their real estate profits. So that means this $1 trillion worth of assets, it's actually inflated. When you look at the actual numbers, when you see an 82% decrease from last year, or just a specific sector of that real estate, you saw they made $2.2 billion last year. Now that's down to $338 million. Now let's back up. So we know part of the rally comes from the end of zero COVID. Now when it comes to China, we know they're the second biggest economy in the world, behind the US. They have a major part in the global economy. When they reopened, there was a big overall increase inside of inflation, demand, supply, and everything in general. Now, there's probably some plans to take over the US dollar, something that they're talking about with Russia. I don't know that much about it, but I know they're getting closer. That's a different story. When we talk about China in general, their overall economy is taking a hit. They had expectations of 7.1% this quarter. They actually came out at 6.3%. Now, ever since 2021, the tech industry inside of China, they hit a peak and they've lost over $2 trillion when it comes to their tech industry. Now, one of the big problems with that, they started peaking. The problem with this peaking is the timing of the next wave of young people. When it comes to the young people, they're down over 20% when it comes to people from age 16 to 24. Now, all the economic data that's coming out of China, it's all shocking. And we know that this data by itself is already filtered by the CCP. So if they call it bad, it's probably worse. And the latest statistic that we got out of China is the unemployment rate for the young people. If you look at the data, it says the highest number of young people are now graduating. And out of those people that are unemployed, it's saying it's over 20%. And China's a really big place, so that's a lot of people. Now, China and the US, they're completely different when it comes to the ratio of old people to young people. China has been under all kinds of laws that said you only could have one child for a long time. When you have this many unemployed people that were normally trying to go into a gaming industry or a tech industry, all of that has been suppressed. Now they're kind of opening up to international ideas. I'm gonna let you imagine what that means. So when it came to China, they did a large crackdown on inside of the gaming and technology firms. Now they slightly regret that because a lot of their income was coming from the gaming and technology firms. And that led to them losing over $2 trillion since 2021 when it peaked. Specifically, we're talking about Hang Seng Technology Index. They lost $2 trillion since 2021 because of the sluggish economy and zero COVID. Now, there was optimism when zero COVID was ended and the Chinese economy reopened. And part of that is the reason why this economy started going up. Everybody saw a significant improvement, but things aren't as good as they expected, especially in the Chinese economy themselves. Now, when it comes to the US dollar compared to other economies, there's usually an inverse relationship. When one goes down, the other one goes up. But in this case, inflation is so entrenched that even if both sides go up, everyone's still losing money. When it comes to inflation, some people like to think that the inflation is over. The way it's going now, when the market goes all the way to the top, inflation's gonna come back, and it's gonna come back 2 times as hard. We are entering a debt bubble, a debt bomb. And when that bomb goes off, it's going to blow up the real estate market. We already lost 3 of the top 30 banks. None of the banks have enough cash on hand to handle the unrealized losses or unsuspected bank runs. So when it comes to NVIDIA, they broke copyright laws. When it comes to like ChatGPT and other AI things, they use personal data, like from Reddit and other things that you just need to have permission. They didn't get permission, and then they used it to train their bots. That ended up leading to a lot of concerns and lawsuits. Those lawsuits typically slow down the process because then you can't use the product because most of it is tainted or most of it is paused by the courts. Now, unlike the banks who are fighting for liquidity, the penny stock market, it has a lot of liquidity. Now, this liquidity isn't very concentrated on 1 or 2 stocks. It's spread evenly over many stocks. Now, when it comes to all this liquidity that's going into the penny stocks, now the ones that really stand out are the redemption SPACs. When you look at the penny stock market, these redemption SPACs, they are very dangerous. And you could probably understand that if you look at this video. But one thing you need to know is MEOA. This one paused over 2 months ago. It was supposed to open up this Monday. It actually didn't open up. I don't know if anyone actually got their money when it came to opening up at $10. The people that I know that were supposed to get paid to the redemption price, they were told by their broker that it could open up any day now. If we go back a little bit, we saw that the company themselves, when they were discussing the merger, they were pre-approved to extend the special meeting for that merger for up to 3 months. That doesn't matter anymore because we know that the other company pulled out of the deal. When MEOA pulled out of the deal, there shouldn't be a need for a special meeting anymore. So hypothetically, that means MEOA should have opened up by now and everyone should have received their money. So what's going on? I don't know. But if you know, leave a comment below. Now, when it comes to the penny stocks, we know what's been hot lately. It's been technology stocks, financial stocks, and healthcare stocks. But the one you really need to pay attention to, so you either choose to avoid it or be extremely careful, is the SPAC redemption stocks. You could be stuck in something like MEOA or EDTX and many more. If you get stuck in those, there's no guarantee that you're going to get your money back fast enough to where you actually come out with a profit, because you have to pay fees day to day.
When it comes to the penny stocks, there's a lot of action. Now, a lot of this volume isn't concentrated. Most of it is just going through the secular trends. I'm talking about IPOs, aka SPACs. Now, one of the most recent SPACs that caught everyone's attention is PSOH. Now, what makes PSOH really exciting is that this went from $10 all the way up to $30. Actually, $35. That means this went up 250%. And then overnight, it gapped down about 25%. And then went back up to 30% at the open. We've been seeing a lot of this kind of price action. A lot of the stocks are going anywhere from 200 to 500% after they IPO. Now, PSQH, this is supposed to be the merger. It's a shell company. This is the combined asset for Columbia Acquisition Corp and Patriotic Marketplace Public Space. Try saying that 3 times. Now, by itself, the stock only traded 15 million volume on its second green day. And on the last day of its run, it traded a lot less. That means the liquidity from that previous day, it was really hard to sustain into the last day. Nobody wanted to hold a buy or short on such a low float stock into the weekend. And so this dropped all the way to the support that it held from the second green day. And that's around $20. Other than that, we also had a pump and dump on the Trump and pump. I'm talking about DWAC. Now, DWAC, we all know this has relations to Trump. In the past, this went up to 160, and then it came all the way back down to around $20. Now, it went from $14 all the way back up to $25. The Trump and pump is back. Those 2 tickers were the most exciting this week, but we've had plenty more tickers go up 200, 300, or at least 100% into a resistance. The market is hot right now. Penny stocks are hot right now. Do you know why they're hot? That's because the overall market is hot. Check this out. The overall market has been going higher and higher every day with little to no pullbacks. The trend is set in where the market wants to go, and that's up. And we're dangerously close to all-time highs. So the market already decided what direction they want it to go, whether it's good news or whether it's bad news. Everyone's seeing it as a reason to buy the dip. They're seeing it as a reason to pump the overall market.
When it comes to Taiwan and their semiconductors, they have been delayed in making their newest factory inside of Amazon. And Apple says they're going to make their own chips until Taiwan gets their stuff together. Now, with Taiwan, their latest earnings came out and they almost lost a quarter of their profits. Now, this may be the reason that they don't want to open up the factory fast, but what they say the reason is they can't find skilled labor for Arizona's branch. So more on China. There was a lot of stuff going on in China. And you know that most of the stuff that comes out of China is filtered by the CCP. And most of the stuff you see online, it's not always true. So that's why you should look it up yourself. But what you do know is that China has been going through a rough patch. There was zero COVID. there was a chip restriction. There's a high unemployment rate when it comes to the youth. Their overall GDP was a big miss from its year-over-year expectations. And that probably has something to do with the weakness being that most of their income came from being the world's factory. And overall, people are just buying a lot less crap. You know the thing that says made in China? You can't afford that now. Overall, you have less purchasing power. So when it came to the earnings, the major companies, they've mostly been down, especially the tech companies. When it comes to the banking stocks, you've seen a mixed bag, but overall, it's the same across the board. Everyone's having liquidity issues, and we're slowly creeping towards all-time highs in the overall market. And people want to sell at the top. And underneath all this craziness inside of the stock market, there's the real estate market that usually lags and has a lot slower crashes. And we know that debt bubble, when it comes to those bonds, as well as real estate, that is the foundation of the stock market. When the risk of default is so high, as we increase the national debt that is temporarily increased for a year and a half, what happens after that year and a half? I don't like to think that far. Now, when it comes to this rally, it's all about momentum. Right now, we're in a melt up. This momentum is based off of everything. Good news, bad news, made up news, real news. But when someone chooses to turn it off, it's gonna crash fast, and it's gonna crash harder than you thought. Probably 30% from the top. Now, we don't know if the person that's gonna start this crash is gonna be the Fed when they start cutting hikes, or if it's gonna be some financial accident. What we do need to know is that now it's the top of everything. If you buy, there's a high chance you're gonna be buying a falling knife, and that's never good if you wanna keep your fingers. All right, guys, that's all I got for you today. If you like what you saw, hit the like and subscribe button, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.